Thanks for listening to More or Less, a mental health and music podcast centered around one question. How are you really feeling, more or less? Chelsea Cutler is joining us today, singer, songwriter, producer, and one of my personal favorite artists. Chelsea is an incredible lo-fi pop artist who's played 150 plus shows in the past year alone. Chelsea and I get into the nitty-gritty of navigating our mid-20s amidst depression, social media, and entrepreneurship, more or less. Season 3 of More or Less is sponsored by Neuro, enhancing your mind and body one piece at a time. Living in New York City, I spend way too much time and money on coffee and energy drinks, daily supplements, and then splurging on self-care products. Neuro creates supplements that fit your lifestyle instead of the other way around, with nutrients that enhance your health and wellness to something intrinsically convenient, affordable, and portable. With thoughtfully curated ingredients and lab-approved integrity, Neuro has changed the caffeine game for me, since the gum is delicious and the mints leave me feeling fresh and focused. Neuro is always by your side when you need it. Take my word for it and head to getneuro.com now. Hi.
What's happening?
So we don't do intros on the show. I just record it ahead of time. So we allow our guests to introduce themselves. So take it away with how you would describe yourself.
Cool. I'm Chelsea Cutler. I am a singer, a recording artist, and I live in New York, and that's probably why we're here today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And number one question we ask on the show is, how are you feeling in this moment, more or less?
I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like anytime it starts to rain, my mood just like immediately pivots. So like I woke up in such a fantastic mood. It was really sunny, and then walking here, it started to rain. And I could just feel myself, like, deflate, you know?
That's a good metaphor, deflate.
Yeah.
I feel that.
How about you?
How am I feeling?
Yeah.
I'm feeling busy.
Nice.
Feeling busy. Like,
busy's good, though.
Yeah, busy, like, my brain is occupied, but also not enough hours in a day kind of busy.
I feel that.
Yeah. So the follow-up to when we ask how you're feeling is, what do you need more of, and then what do you need less of? Whether it's a feeling, word, emotion.
Mm-hmm. What do I need more of? Probably a little more sleep. I feel like I haven't slept too much lately.
That's
like,
such a common
as much
answer.
as I want. Yeah.
You're like the third guest of the season to say more sleep.
Yeah. I feel like we all relate to that. I'm sorry I couldn't think of something more unique.
No. I feel it. I also need more sleep.
Yeah, less of like less comparison. Less comparison and just like focus, just trying to keep my focus kind of on like my journey and just, you know, trying to exude, you know, gratitude and, you know, attract good things and not compare so much.
I feel like there's a lot we could cover in that, but let's touch on the comparison piece for a second.
Yeah,
is there anything lately that's kind of sparked that, or is it like, are we coming out of COVID? I don't know if COVID's over or not, but coming out of COVID.
I try to like categorize this period as like post-pandemic.
Is it a post-pandemic?
I don't know. I know that there are people who may be sensitive to that because like COVID still definitely impacts like, you know, people who are like immunocompromised and whatnot. But I think, you know, in the context of my life or in, you know, I think a lot of people's lives were hopefully, you know, post-COVID.
Yeah, I've been saying post-lockdown. Lately,
yeah, definitely post-lockdown.
We're not
for
in the
sure.
house anymore.
Yeah.
We're just now.
There's live music. We're going to restaurants.
We're going about our lives cautiously.
Yeah.
So has anything happened recently where you find yourself looking around versus yourself?
I think that we've just like absolutely gone off the edge of a cliff into like a social media frenzy the last couple of years. And I think especially with jobs like ours, there's kind of no way to avoid how much we have to kind of be like online and aware also of like the culture that's happening online. So I just think everywhere you look, like I wake up and I open Instagram and like some artist has posted their sold out tour and another artist has posted their platinum plaque. And, you know, it's just, you know, I think like it's just everywhere you look, and it takes a lot of self, I guess like assurance really to just be okay with seeing all of that all the time. I don't know, like, do you find that you're experiencing that?
Well, there's that quote, it's like comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
And I can relate, not from the artist perspective, but working in the music business, I was never someone that looked around. I was always keep my head down, do the work, and, you know, things will come naturally for me and success will come when it comes. But I found over COVID, when all we had was our phones and really social media, then I was looking at other people getting jobs or getting promotions. Right. And then you have all this time on your hands that then you naturally start thinking, okay.
We're like in the age of like announcing. Like everyone needs to announce like everything that's going on in their lives, which is like kind of hilarious. It's like I think that people really believe so much about like, I don't know, people are just so interested in like how they craft and curate their online image that I don't know, I remember reading like some stupid like psychology website about like people post their accomplishments because it helps curate
external
obviously.
validation.
Yeah. But yeah, I just feel like what's up? I don't know. What's up with that? Everywhere you go, it's like, oh, this song just hit 100 million streams. This tour sold out. I can't believe it. You know, it's like.
So Chelsea, for example purposes, this past weekend, the More or Less team said, okay, how are we going to announce the podcast? Because we just announced season 3 yesterday, but by the time this comes out, we'll be way into season 3. Yeah. But we have to announce it. And, you know, what's popping right now is Reels and TikTok. And I don't know anything about that. And they're like, Jess, why don't you just make like a 45-second video of you saying that the season is coming back? When I tell you the amount of anxiety that shot through me, I don't know how artists do it. I don't know how you guys do it. Remy's laughing because I was walking around the streets of Bushwick.
Like how many tries did it take you?
You should see my photo gallery right now. There are at least 8 different attempts. There I was on the streets of Bushwick, really embarrassing, just like, hi, it's Jess. We're doing season 3, and it's now live if anyone listening wants to go watch it. It's kind of cringy in my opinion, but it does its job in that it announces the season.
Yeah.
But to your point, amazing. Like, that was super uncomfortable because that's not what I do. Just like, I'm sure for artists, content creation is not what you do either.
No, I mean, I have this conversation like almost daily with my team, how like I just don't naturally. I like being in front of a camera like this. This doesn't really bother me. I like talking to people and stuff, but like I tried to make a TikTok the other day, like talking into the phone, and like I'm gonna be honest with you, 8 tries sounds wonderful. Like it was
more than 8 tries.
It took me. Am I allowed to swear on?
Yeah, of course.
But like literally, I was on my phone for like 2 hours, no joke, just recording the same thing over and over until I felt like I like was articulate, hit all the points I was trying to say. Sending it back and forth with my manager, him being like, no, make sure you say this. It's like, I don't understand how people just hold up the phone and just go on like a fucking rant about shit and they didn't even think about it ahead of time. Like, that's just not my inclination. No. But you kind of mentally build one like as you go through each take.
Because here's the problem, because I was outside, I couldn't have like my laptop script in front of me and then my phone.
Yeah.
So I had to just like make notes to myself of what I need to say. Okay, it's coming out this day. Okay, it's on Spotify this day. And then just memorize it and say it, but make it not sound like it was
Do you do
forced.
liners a lot? Yeah.
Once anyone heard that, Remy goes, she's going.
Once you do like get comfortable doing liners a lot, like that memorization stuff comes so like you'll get so much more comfortable with it.
There's so much.
The memory, I'll tell you, and like after doing liners, you start being really comfortable with memorization and really uncomfortable with stuff that's like not memorized.
The whole thing is just uncomfortable with me, and we're working on it because I love podcasting. Like, I think this is really cool that we get to do this, and I'm super comfortable doing it. But when it's just me, like having to read a thing, I feel really awkward and cringy.
No, I relate.
Control Alt Delete on all of that.
I agree. Yeah, I think that like it's just like it's a twisty kind of conundrum how like a lot of the content on TikTok or Reels or Shorts or all that is like stuff that like essentially needs to grab you, right? Like grab your attention very, very quickly. And typically the kinds of people who are best at doing that are like a little bit like more confident and loud or
and extroverted.
Yeah, and extroverted. Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because like I consider myself to be really extroverted. Like I really don't like to be alone. If I like to be just around people, even if we're not like particularly in conversation. And like I still find it to be the worst thing in the world being in front of a camera in that context.
Yeah, in terms of you, yourself, and I.
Yeah, and like I feel like even probably with podcasting, like you guys don't really have many other kind of avenues to utilize other than like these short form content platforms.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is the challenge, because even for us promoting, it's okay, what is the soundbite from the episode that it can go viral or has the potential to grab people to grow our listenership. So it's just interesting, and I'm curious, you know, I saw your post a year ago about social media that then went, your post about social media ironically
it was
went
so
viral.
Stupid and ironic. But funny.
But is that how you felt about, like, is that, obviously you weren't intending for that to become what it was.
No, it was all part of my devious marketing plan. I the only reason I posted that is because my manager's wife went into labor, and I felt like I had an opportunity to be unsupervised and unhinged, and I just kind of said what I was feeling, and I was like, all right, well, no one's here to, like, I have a great excuse to post something without, like, why didn't you run it by us first? Because your wife's having a baby, so.
Wait, I didn't know that. And what's funny is I know your manager really well, so that's makes this all the more funny now that I know the context.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So that's very funny. So you were unhinged and you impulsively posted it.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then were people calling you after and being like, you good?
I kind of feel like it was just one of those things where everyone is just like, oh, finally someone said it. Like, how brilliant. And it like the irony continued in the fact that a lot of the people kind of like applauding that post were also a lot of the same people who were like, yeah, go make TikToks, you know, go.
So that was going to be my follow-up with you.
I mean, it's classic.
In terms of new music coming, has that shifted conversations at all? Because granted, that was probably a year ago that you made that post.
Yeah.
Like, has that shifted
Just
any conversations within your team or the label, even your fans, where what role does content creation play in future Chelsea Cutler releases?
There's no way around it. Yeah. I mean, that's how digital marketing is where marketing is happening right now. And yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like, sometimes I kind of feel like such a sellout, like, almost, that I was so vocal about how much I despised it. And then I kind of was like, oh, okay, but I also still, you know, want to, like, win and have a living and pay my mortgage. So I'm going to, like, do it, even though I openly, you know, criticized it. So I don't know. You could look at it two ways. It's either like, oh, here's an artist who, you know, spoke out against it and is selling out. Or you could think like, oh, here's an artist who's having a really difficult time and is, you know, leaning into it. Leaning in, selling out. I don't really know, you know.
But I wouldn't look at it as selling out. I think it's more so you've the courage to criticize a system that you're a part of.
Yeah, that's nice of you. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it's not like a system that I'm subscribing to willingly.
Yep.
Like
that's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's not really another option.
And you know that that's part of your job. You know that's what's going to lead you on a future trajectory. But you're allowed to criticize parts of your job.
Yeah. Totally.
And that's what that was, in my opinion.
Totally.
And of course, I was also commenting and resharing and saying, like, fuck yeah, like, she said that, and we all need to take notes. But it's just interesting that I don't know if it landed anywhere with other artists or other teams to be like, hey, this isn't really good for my mental health. Yeah.
I just think that, like I said, like, there's just, the system just is the way the system is right now. Like, I just don't, off the top, you know, I'm sure we could have, like, a more in-depth conversation with, like, preparation, but just, like, off the brain right now, I can't really think of, like, artists who are having moments that didn't originate on TikTok right now. You know, so it's just, you know, what are you going to do?
But even so, like, one of the things you mentioned and that I wholeheartedly agree with is we're living in a time right now of disconnect.
Yeah.
Music or not, like, we are disconnected from people. We've just gone through a traumatic time where we were physically separated from people, but also emotionally separated, and the fact that we have collective trauma to carry now. And
no one's talking about it.
No one's talking about it. And that's part of the reason why we have this podcast.
It's so insane. Like, we just, like, resumed life, and no one is talking about what just fucking happened. Thanks for saying that.
I talk about it a lot.
That is good.
Because I think it's important to acknowledge it in every room that, hey, like, shit is heavy. Like, everyone knew someone or lost someone or knows someone that lost someone. And on top of that, still struggling with medical issues, death outside of COVID, like there is heavy shit happening.
Totally.
There was a political upbringing, essentially, like social reckoning over COVID, and we all kind of just posted a black square and we told people to vote and we kept it moving.
Yeah.
And even in music, like all of a sudden last year, everyone was on tour. Everybody was on tour. The whole world was on tour, and ticket sales were suffering because not everyone had dispensable income like they might have before COVID, and that really shook up the ecosystem. But even so, like we're still expected to operate at full optimization with the same bandwidth, despite the fact that our social batteries are completely different than they were 3 years ago.
I'm 100% with you. Yeah, it's really bizarre. And I think, like, you know, on top of the more obvious trauma that you spoke to, I think that even being isolated that way for so long, or being, you know, removed from our offices, our workplaces for so long, and like everything that COVID entailed was just fucking weird, dude. Like it was just a lot to go through. Like I think, you know, for me, like I left college and went on tour, and I toured / like was putting out projects like really consistently with no like real like moments of being stagnant in that. And like to go from dropping out of school, going on tour, to then COVID, where I was like trapped at my, trapped obviously jokingly, like at my parents' home. I don't know, like I just feel like that was like fucked up for everyone, whether it was like obvious trauma or more subtle trauma. But yeah, and then life went back to normal and everyone's just like, okay, cool, yeah, that was, that sucked, but here we are.
Yeah, that sucked, but here we are. That's exactly how I feel like the collective conversation as a society is right now. It's like, oh yeah, that COVID thing, like, kind of sucked, but yeah, you're expected to do A, B, and C by tomorrow.
Yes, and like the other thing that's really interesting to me is like, I feel like there's not a lot of room to talk about your like residual trauma from it. Like people just want to be so done, which I totally understand. Like I want to be done with it as much as the next person and store that memory somewhere deep, deep far away. But yeah, there's still, like I think even me mentally, I suffered like a lot of setbacks kind of being removed from the live music industry, and yeah, I think my confidence just like took a lot of hits, and like there's not a ton of room really to like talk about how we're feeling post COVID, because everyone just wants it to be done.
Over with. Yeah. But in that same vein, people tend to process emotions by not. And it's easier to just move on to the next thing than let me sit with that and actually unravel why I'm feeling that way. I mean, that's half the reason why we do this podcast as well, because we want to talk with artists and see how you're actually doing, because you're going to go on a tour and you're going to do the release and you're going to do all the things, but are we checking in? Are we having these conversations? Because it's important, right? Especially coming out of this crazy time. We started this podcast over COVID for that reason, because nobody was talking about it.
Yeah, that's so badass that you guys did.
Thank you. Yeah. We were watching artists have contracts to do live streams and virtual concerts and all that kind of shit, and I kept sitting here like, how are they? Like, how you're being forced to exude creativity when you're isolated and likely depressed, because to your point, everyone had some degree of fucked up during that time. Yeah. Whether it was personal or professional, like shit was fucked up. So I just think it's important that we have these conversations to help us all feel a little bit more connected, because you're right, nobody's talking about what just happened, how we're feeling, and how that's now impacting your life. Yeah. Like, even as I mentioned to you before, I never looked the other way of what people were doing, but then over COVID I was like, who the hell am I doing that? Like, that's not me.
Dude, I feel the same way. Like, I feel like prior to COVID, granted, like, how old are you?
I'm gonna be 25 next week.
Okay, I also think, because we're like similar age, I just turned 26, and I was talking to my therapist about this. I was like, before COVID, I was such like a careless like little fucker, and I just wore what I want, I did what I wanted, I bought what I want, well, like, in moderation, and like I didn't care what anyone else thought. If I thought something was cool, like I wore it, or if I thought something was important to say, I said it. And post COVID, I feel like a bit of like a muted version of myself, maybe in some ways. And like my therapist always is just like, you have to acknowledge that I just turned 23 when the pandemic started, and like 23 to be fair, in a lot of instances, you're still kind of like a fucking asshole when you're 23. So she always just tries to be like, you're just mature now. Like, you have to remember that, like, you know, it's been 3 years, you've grown up a lot. I'm kind of like, fuck that. But I also think we have to, like, recognize we're probably a little bit, you know, it's natural that we've matured definitely in some capacity.
Do you struggle with the relationship of time based on, like, because you just celebrated a birthday and me celebrating my birthday
Did
next
you cry
week?
about your birthday?
I'm crying about it. 25 is a big deal, and I'm a little emotional about it. So that's
25 is
why
all right.
when you asked me, I fully stuttered because I don't know how old I'm turning.
Yeah.
But did you feel like this weird relationship with time that, you know, you're another year older, and I still mentally feel like I moved back home because I moved back home with my family during the pandemic too, reverted back to my high school self.
Oh,
mentally.
absolutely.
Like, totally regressed. And now, okay, turning 25, and in your case, turning 26, like, I mentally don't feel like the brain has fully developed.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Time has just felt weird.
Yeah, I kind of feel like because of my job, like the nature of my job, I feel like I have grown up faster than I would have expected. But I think that my relationship with time is troubled more by the fact that, like, there's such a pressure on women in the entertainment industry to be young and hot, and it's always like, what's the, you know, who's young and who's the new hot thing. And, like, for me, turning 26, you know, I'm working on an album right now that I probably won't realistically really get around to touring until probably around, like, my 27th birthday. And when I came to that realization, like, last week, I like sobbed.
Yeah.
I was like, you're telling me I'm going to be 27 when I go on my next tour? Like, and which is ridiculous. Like, out of context, you're like, 27 so young, 27 so, like, hot still and cool.
No, but when you're living it, it's different.
Yeah, well, when you're in an industry where, like, every person is like, oh my God, this 19-year-old, this new 22-year-old. I'm like, 27, holy fuck. That's, like, that's not hot to, like, market, you know? I don't know.
Well, from my seat, I have friends that are desperate to get on the 30 under 30 list, which you were on. But for them, it's the rush to 30. Like, I need to accomplish everything before I turn 30. And I've never really felt that way because I kind of like evolving and not being the same person I was when I was 19.
For sure,
and not
yeah.
being the same person I was at 23. And those versions of me are growing fluidly that, you know, whenever I hit a pinnacle of success, even that's going to evolve.
For
like,
sure.
Even when my friends say, like, oh, I need to be on Forbes 30 under 30, I'm like, okay, but then what? Like, once you get that, right? Or
why do they want that, out of curiosity?
I think it's the same
plaque
reason
just, like, hangs in my house.
Why an artist wants a Grammy. I think it's the same kind of relationship to this external validation. I don't know if I should say it's external validation. This external, like, A on your report card. Like, your teacher saying you're a really good student. That's how I look at these lists.
Like, because I've been thinking a lot about Grammys, right? And, like, I would ultimately love to experience that. And at the same time, there has to be an element of satisfaction with, like, never winning one.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Because that can't define you.
Because you're so right. Like, then, like, if I won a Grammy, or, like, you got Forbes 30 under 30, like, what's your next?
What is that?
What's the next validate? Or, like, yeah, what's the next source of validation?
Because to me, it's surface level, right? Like you're saying, it's a plaque that hangs in your house, or if it's a trophy that hangs in your house.
It's cool to, like, walk by it.
It's a great milestone, and it's a great.
I'm very appreciative, Forbes. Thank you.
Of course, I mean, it is an accomplishment in itself, and of course, if I made the list just like you were on the list, or you won a Grammy, whatever the case may be, of course you're going to be happy and grateful and want to tell the world, and there's so much pride in that. But it shouldn't define you, that is the chase of what you're working towards. And I think that's where it gets lost, even for artists sometimes, where they're chasing the accolades so much they lose sight of the art and why they're doing it.
100%. That's one of, like, the biggest struggles of being an artist, is, like, wanting to, are you familiar with, like, obviously, like, Rick Rubin? And okay, I went through this, like, really embarrassing phase a couple weeks ago where I watched, like, pretty much every Rick Rubin interview available and took a lot of, like, in my journal, like handwritten notes, like holed up in my studio. My girlfriend's like, are you gonna like get groceries? I'm like, no, this is like really, I'm working. But yeah, like listening to that was so liberating because just how adamant he is that you need to create art to like express how you view the world is really it's just liberating. It's such a relief because he's so accomplished, and I'm sure it's all your A&Rs and label executives who like I think so fondly and highly of, but they're telling you one thing, but they're not artists, so they they'll never understand the artistic experience. So to hear from someone like Rick Rubin, like I don't know, I feel like maybe he's kind of found the external success with like as a result of doing his own thing. And
yeah, because I think people gravitate towards authenticity. That's a lot of the work that I talk about. I talk about it with your management team. Like we talk about authentic things and how to do good authentically. And I think with that being said, I was listening to an interview with your friend Noah, and the interviewer was like, what inspired you to go back to your roots with this latest album? And granted, that album is freaking huge right now because it is so authentically him. That I think it's kind of a silly question to ask an artist that, because at the end of the day, your roots are what make you. Like,
yeah, I think Noah, I mean, I can't speak for him, but I think he just wanted to make music that felt right for him.
Exactly, which is
you
would hope every artist would do that and not.
Yeah, I mean that's not always the case.
Exactly,
for sure,
it could be for approval for the accolades. It could be approval for the A&Rs, and you lose sight of the art that actually makes you happy and genres that make you happy and the way that bleeds into what inspires you. I think it can get lost in the sauce.
It can so get lost in the sauce. Dude, there's so much sauce to get lost in
nowadays,
in the music industry. Like I totally relate to getting lost in the sauce. Like I can't tell you how many times in my like relatively short career so far that I have been like, okay, should I be making this type of music? Yep. Should I be making that type of music? What's, because at the end of the day, like I want to be a massive artist, and that, I don't know where that desire comes from. I don't really, I don't crave like fame or like attention in any way, but I think I crave on a human level, like knowing I have some sort of influence on like an industry I'm so passionate about. So I, in my like yearning to be such a big artist, like I can't tell you how many times I've, talked to Jesse and been like, dude, maybe I should be trying this kind of music. Maybe I should be doing this. And it's like, obviously none of it's like totally worked yet, other than it's ironic because Brent, that Jeremy and I made, we had no fucking idea what the fuck that was going to be. Like there was no agenda. We went and seen like a little fucking cabin, one room studio. And it's like collectively they've done like 1 billion streams.
It's incredible.
Yeah, but we weren't chasing anything.
We were literally
like taking edibles and watching the 1975's like live shows on a projector and like diddling on a piano and made a few songs.
Yeah. That just so happened to do really freaking well.
I think probably because they're so different than what was coming out at the time. Like we put Brent out at a time where like I think prior to TikTok, mainstream pop music had a much more definitive sound than it does right now. So I think Brent like deviated from that.
But I also think, and I can say as a fan of Brent, that people were craving a cohesive album. Like people were craving not one-off songs. Like they want to hear something from start to finish that is sonically appealing.
Yeah,
and
that's
that really
something,
hits you.
Dude, that's something that I thought about a lot, like in the process that I'm in now with my next project. Is I was like talking to David Gray, who publishes me at UMPG, and we were kind of like identifying like, okay, all these like really standout albums lately have been really cohesive. Like they're not a compilation of songs from different sessions. They're all, like one or two producers, the artist, maybe another writer. But yeah, if you like, I mean, Harry's album, Olivia Rodrigo, Conan Gray is a great example. Like, I mean, another Dan Nigro album, but yeah.
You listen to Ray's album?
I'm not done with
liking
it. Not done with it yet.
It's really good.
Yeah, but she's fantastic as well.
Incredible.
What, same producer on top to bottom, or?
I think it might be the same producer.
She's
but
really cool, yeah.
The transitions are seamless. Like,
yeah.
It's the album where you have to listen to it from start to finish. You can't just skip around.
Coldplay albums are like that
yes.
to me too. Like, yeah, there's the transitions between songs are so deliberate. It's clear, you know, it's one solidified kind of group of people working on it all. But
even Renaissance, I mean, she had a ton of people working on Renaissance, but it all is part of one body of work that makes sense.
I'm not familiar with who worked on it, but I'm sure there was like some sort of exec.
She had like Pharrell. She had so many people on that album. But it obviously did amazing, and you know, it sounds like all the songs are there for a purpose that serves the higher body of work.
Dude, it's so interesting. Like, we're in such a time of like you said, like disconnect, and I think people want things to grab onto that feel cohesive.
Because we don't have that right now. And people are, transparently, I don't know what label is going to see this and be mad at me, but they don't want the one-hit wonders right now. Like, people aren't, an audience development doesn't come from a viral song that, you know, is good for a week and then that's it. People want work like Brent. Like, they want things that they can hear top to bottom and experience it. People are craving experiences.
I think that's why Noah's resonating 100%. With everybody right now, because he's just the most authentic and genuine and like wonderful human with such a story to tell.
It's refreshing.
It's really, and like Zach Bryan too. Yeah, it's super refreshing.
Yeah.
I agree.
So the one thing I want to touch on with your work and mental health, you've been very open about vulnerability and your journey in mental health, and I applaud you for that, because it definitely helps folks like me that talk about this and are a fan of your work. So with the art you're working on right now and this next album, I saw that you teased a song about Lexapro.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring it up because I'm a Lexapro girly, if anyone wants to know.
I'm a Lexapro girly, yeah.
Love
and
Wellbutrin,
maybe.
Wellbutrin?
Yeah.
I was Wellbutrin last year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We're trying a different cocktail.
Yeah, but, I feel that. You got to kind of mess all around and see what feels right.
So funny enough, like when I saw you had posted like the teaser for that song with Lexapro not feeling a thing, I like texted my boyfriend immediately and I was like, hello, me. Like, we have this conversation.
Wait, have you seen the video on TikTok of this girl who's like, it has like millions of views, so I feel like you've seen it, but the girl's like holding her phone. She's like, oh my God, this dude's about to hit me. This dude just hit me. Guy just backs into her car. And I was like, this chick has to be on something. But she said she's not. But great example of like how it placates us.
And it was funny that you said more sleep, because my biggest complaint with Lexapro and being on antidepressants is how it impacts my sleep, because I'm never well rested, ever.
Interesting. Do you feel like you sleep enough, or like what do you think's causing
Even
that?
if I get 8 hours, like what science says we need 8 hours of sleep.
Maybe you're not an 8-hour girl. Like, I need to sleep like 10 hours to feel good.
I just think I am permanently tired.
Yeah.
On Lexapro. But we're working on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been on it forever now, but like, it was just interesting, and I really obviously related to that lyric that made me laugh, because
dude, it's so interesting. Like, I feel like being on Lexapro has basically taken my emotional spectrum, and this is probably another reason why I feel like a muted version of myself, like I said, because I've been on Lexapro for so long, since I started it like before COVID, but I feel like it kind of aggregates in like in its effects and stuff. But I feel like it's taken my emotional spectrum from here to here. Like, I don't even feel capable of like really having an argument. Like, I don't even feel like that exists. That level of angry exists.
So then how did the high show up for you?
I don't know. Like, I don't really know. Like, I think something that's interesting about me that, like, I think even our joy can be like a little bit muted as well. Which maybe makes the contrast between like highs and lows feel more reasonable. But like, for my birthday this past weekend, so Quinn92 and his wife coordinated with my girlfriend to like all surprise me. We all spent the day together out in Santa Barbara, and Quinn, whose real name is Mike, so Mike and his wife Macy, they come up from behind me and surprised me. And the first thing I said is Mike, who's transparently, he's very like transparent that he got a hair transplant like a few weeks ago. And the first thing I looked at him, I was like, hey dude, let me see your hair. And they're like, why aren't you like happy to see us? Like, why is that your first reaction? And I think I just like, I don't know, like I just feel like I'm a little muted all the time.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I can barely remember a time before Lexapro, but I will say that my manic energy that I had before Lexapro is lowered, where you were talking about that spectrum. Like, I feel as though my spectrum is my lows are not nearly as low as they used to be, which I'm grateful for, and that's why I'm still on medication. But my highs, whenever something good happens to me, I am happy for about a millisecond, and then I move on to like the next anxiety ridden thought.
Yeah.
And I'll have people in my life that are like, why don't you just enjoy the, like, because it's not about not being present, right? Because you're present, you're there, but your emotional capabilities are not the same.
They're not. No, dude, it's like I said, it's just, it feels like the spectrum has been like limited for me. Like, I even feel like, I don't know, I think performing is one place where I can really feel full body joy. But like, other than that, like, I don't really know. You know, my parents will...
Case in point, birthdays. I get really weird about my birthday. I don't... I feel very uncomfortable by, like, people texting me.
Birthdays are the worst.
I just would rather skip to the next day. Like, I'm just kind of... I have, like, weird anxiety about my birthday.
I feel the skip to the next day, like, about a lot of stuff, not to derail what you were about to say, but I relate to that a lot.
I've been feeling that a lot lately.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the post-COVID stuff, is wanting to just move on to the next day. And, like...
Even, like, I noticed this during... So, like, I'm a huge proponent of massages. And I was just getting a massage the other day, and it felt incredible. But I also was still, like, I kind of just want this to be over so I can, like, go do the next thing in my day.
Do you meditate at all?
I really have tried, and I don't think I've probably tried hard enough. I don't know. Yeah, probably not really.
It's really funny that you brought up massages.
I'm, like, trying to be like, yeah, dude, like, I've tried it.
No, it's so... Listen, we're transparent here. If it's not for you, it's not for you.
Yeah, I don't know.
What you said about massages, I used to have really bad anxiety around massages. Like, the first massage I ever got, I had a panic attack, like, on the bed.
I'm sorry.
Because I wanted to get out. Like, I felt like I was trapped. And
totally.
It's painfully ironic because massages are supposed to relax you.
Do you like them now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I swear by it. I have a place to recommend to you when we're done.
Oh, please,
but, but I had really bad anxiety around it. And then as I've gotten older and, like, now I'm really into yoga and I want to become a teacher this year. It's like part of my 25 thing. Like, that's
amazing.
What I want this year is to become a yoga teacher.
My girlfriend got certified, so we'll talk.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, because I'm looking for a place. But, you know, people will automatically assume like yoga and meditation goes hand in hand, which to some extent, but people all the time are like, do you use Calm? Do you use Headspace? Like, do you use all these apps? Because it's part of the work that I do. But dude, personally,
people can't, if you like, God forbid you mention that you, like, struggle with anxiety. Like...
Meditation.
Okay, this is, like, kind of mean, but I, like, tried working with, like, a really high-level, like, performance psychologist a few weeks ago. And, like, the second that she mentioned, like, Calm and Headspace, I was like, fuck this. Like, you're so expensive. And I could just go read a book or, like, fucking download Headspace, and I haven't gone...
YouTube?
Yeah, like, I was like, what the fuck am I paying for? Like, this is so stupid. And I just never went back. I was like, this is so, like, I don't understand why, like, what qualifies you to be charging what you're charging.
So I asked you about the meditation because, not to be like, oh, do you meditate? But because I have found in more conversations around meditation, it's so hard to make your brain be quiet.
Yeah.
Like, that is the hardest thing for me, which is why I don't do it. I really do well at yoga and I like working out, and I'm sure performing is a full body experience. It's a workout for you, but sitting there with my thoughts for 20 minutes is the most terrifying idea.
Okay, well, hot take, like, I think a lot of people like meditation because they're trying to, like, slow your brain down or, like, try to focus on one thing or slow, you know, like...
Which is fair.
But think about how much time we spend, like, not actually having our own thoughts, right? Like, we're on our phones all the time. We're consuming, like, TV shows, TikToks, whatever. Excuse me. And, like, I find that, like, something like running or a massage, like, the beauty of that is not so that I can, like, slow down, but so that I can like actually listen to what my own thoughts are.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't bother me if it's still fast paced. Like I find it's weird. Like I do find like after I get massages, I usually like write down all the ideas I had during the massage, because I don't listen in other circumstances throughout my day or my week. Like I don't listen to myself as much as I do when I'm like forced to.
That's your version of meditation.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just kind of like I don't know if I like subscribe to the idea that like we have to like slow down and like just concentrate on like one word or like one mantra or some shit. Like why don't just listen to like what your beautiful creative brain has to say?
Yeah. Yeah, because I look at meditation as whatever way you can get your body to recharge and get yourself to almost cleanse your brain.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like for you is what
That's
it
a cool
looks like
way of looking at it. I like that.
Cleansing your brain.
Yeah, like there's just way less like pressure around that.
It's ever flowing. Like
Yeah.
what makes you happy? I mean, for me, like during COVID, I colored so much.
That's so awesome. I love that.
Because why not? What else was I gonna do?
I like painted.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
But who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Like, who cares?
But
It
you know what's
helps
crazy? Would you feel okay if you like got a coloring book now that like life's kind of back to normal? Would you feel like guilty and weird sitting down to like color for an hour?
No, I actually went on a walk yesterday and was upset that I forgot my coloring book because I was gonna sit by the water because it was so nice out yesterday. I was gonna sit down and color and read.
How do you find that? Like, genuine question. Like, how do you find, or how do you give yourself permission to do something that recharges you like that?
Because if I don't, who else is going to?
Yeah, that's so badass. I need to work on that.
But here's the thing. If I don't set time in my day for me, it's not going to happen. I'm going to be low performing and I'm not going to feel as fulfilled. So if that means going on a hot girl mental health walk in the middle of the day, then that's what's going to happen. And I was listening to, I freaking love Jay Shetty, but I brought it up in therapy actually, but I was listening to Jay Shetty and he was talking about how he works out at the same time every day and nothing, no meetings, no nothing gets in the way in that unless it's like a family emergency or God forbid something terrible happens, then that's what gets in the way of it. But he is so committed and disciplined to that that's how you set healthy habits in your life. And
right.
I think that's so true. Like, and I'm guilty of it. I skipped yoga this morning. I'm pissed at myself that I skipped yoga this morning. It doesn't make me a bad person. It just, I'm acknowledging that I didn't give myself that time. And now I have to find other ways throughout the 12 hours that I'm awake of what I can give to myself.
I think the problem maybe that like I encounter with that is I have no problem setting boundaries around something like working out.
Yeah.
Because it still feels productive. But I feel like I have a hard time giving myself permission at like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday to just sit on my couch and like read for an hour. Like, I feel like I should be in the studio. I should be doing something, like, towards bettering myself. Like, and for some reason, these more childish activities or, like, childlike activities, like reading or going to a pottery class or just something. Dude, I don't know. I feel like kind of creative outlets like that can get really, in our culture, like, just really, like, brushed under the rug.
Well, there's two ways to look at that, right? Like the one thing is, you know, you saying that I feel like I should be doing something. Even right now, I could be doing 900 things, just like you could be doing 900 things, but we will never get this moment back. Like
right.
This is a present, real moment that's happening. The people listening to this is a real present moment. So if you give yourself permission to go put pause on whatever you're doing, to go feed your soul and read a book, what is the worst possible thing that could happen in that hour?
Dude, I don't know. It's so bizarre.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Like, if I walk away from my computer for an hour, the world is not going to crash and burn.
Right.
Like, but we work in an industry where everything seems like it's life and death, which is why there's pressure that we put on ourselves to overextend and overperform. But by doing that, you're neglecting, it sounds cliche, you're neglecting your inner child
100%.
by not doing that.
100%, dude. The inner child thing is really important.
And not talked about enough.
Not talked about enough at all. I think the other thing about our industries, too, are they're, like, so entrepreneurial that like you feel like you're the commander of like your own fate, and if God forbid you like take, you know, an hour away from it, that's an hour that someone else is spending, you know, thinking about their career or working on their career. So I feel really guilty kind of in that.
And I started off this podcast with, you know, I feel really busy and overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But in the reality of that, like, because I'm feeling that, okay, what am I going to do about it? Like, am I going to go do yoga? Am I going to go...
Or am I just going to keep pitching?
Yeah, or am I just going to say fuck it and, like, go on a spiral of sending too many emails throughout the day?
Right.
Like, it's on me. Like you said, like, master your own fate. Like, you kind of are.
Right.
And for me, I work for myself now. So I make my own schedule. Like, I work with my clients.
Good for you,
and,
dude.
like, it's on me to be consistent with that. But
Isn't it so wonderful, like...
It is.
Being like the master of your own fate in that way. We're
It's
very
very
fortunate.
empowering.
We're really fortunate.
It's very empowering. And listen, I worked corporate, and that's not to say I'll never go back to corporate, but I think this period...
Where were you
of my
at
life-
before?
I was at the Recording Academy.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
So, in lieu of our conversation.
Yeah.
But I was there before this, and I loved my time there. It seriously was the best job ever.
Yeah.
But you know what? I feel like this is a really empowering time to just do my own thing and see what happens, and it's been good so far. And
What pushed you over the edge to like take the leap and do
fully
your own
woke up
thing?
one day. I swear to God, I didn't have a plan. I woke up one day, didn't have a plan to pay my rent. Fully was just like, I just want to go head first and do this.
That's so badass.
It was badass, Chelsea, but it was terrifying.
Yeah,
every day,
it should
every
be
day is still terrifying.
But it should be. It should be. I say this to my girlfriend all the time because we're very different. Like, she's so wonderfully disciplined and calculated, and I'm so wonderfully like impulsive and act on emotional reasoning. And I'm always like, every good thing truly that I've ever done for the most part has come out of like doing something really scary and really uncomfortable, and everyone else was like, don't do this. And I was like, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Well, even with you, like, not getting, dropping out of college. That's a ballsy decision because society tells us that we all need to go to college.
I'm still scared that I don't have a college degree. I'm still, like, uncomfortable that I don't have a college degree. I don't know. It's weird. But even, like, when I got my dog, like, when I got Cooper, I was, 21, living with my parents, and they were like, Chelsea, what are you doing? Everyone's like, you can't get a fucking dog. I didn't.
It was the best thing that
He's
happened,
the
right?
man. Everyone was telling me, don't buy an apartment. You're so young. Why would you do that? Bought an apartment during COVID and got a 2.6 interest rate, baby. Like, I don't know. It's just, I think, trusting your intuition and...
No one knows yourself like you do.
Yeah.
And I think for me, even with entrepreneurship, I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. I just can now look back in retrospect and be like, oh, that thing I did totally makes sense with what I'm doing now.
Totally.
Like, everything you do, not everything, most of the things you do, you can eventually connect the dots and be like, oh yeah, that is the reason why I am where I am right now.
Totally.
So that's where I'm at.
All right, dude, I love it. I respect you so much.
Like, I respect you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. I'm gonna end with one question to wrap us up. But what is one thing you've done this week, or one thing you're planning to do this week to take care of your well-being?
Okay, ready? This one's weird. I am finally getting my car wrapped.
Okay.
For years, I've wanted to put... I see you. Thank you. Yes. For years, I've wanted to put, like, a satin black, like, matte wrap on my car. And I've just, like, been a huge fucking bitch about it. I've been like, everyone's going to judge me. Everyone's going to think I'm a huge dick, like, for having, like, this douchey wrap on my car. Yes. And I, like... The weekend of my birthday, last weekend, or this literally 5 days ago, I was saying to my girlfriend, I was like, I gotta just start doing shit because I want to do it. And I scheduled to go drop it off this weekend.
Heck yeah.
And we're going to do it. And my business manager is going to be mad at me.
But you're the captain of your ship.
Captain of the ship,
doing
baby.
it. Chelsea, thanks for coming by. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
This was awesome.
Yeah,
thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Awesome, thank you.
That's a wrap on this week's episode of More or Less. Thanks for tuning in. And if you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with a friend, post about it, give us a review on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to stay updated on what's next for More or Less, please give us a follow at More or Less with Jess on Instagram, TikTok, all the social media things. Please take care of yourself, and we'll catch you next time.